Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Versus series episode where we compare and contrast two different pieces of media to see which one is on top. The theme of this month's episode is Kramer versus Ordinary People, two Best Picture winning family dramas that are both considered not applicable for Best Picture. Not that they weren't. I didn't mean like that. What I meant is that they weren't liked for winning Best Picture. Uh, in the case for Kramer versus Kramer, people were mad that uh, it won over Apocalypse Now, which Apocalypse Now should have won. And then next year, for Ordinary People, they say Raging Bull should have won. Gee, you really can't please everybody, can you? Now, I was going to do another theme for this month. That being the 1984 Karate Kid versus the 2010 Karate Kid. But Doug Walker, Nostalgia Critic, already did that, and I know he's not the most respected person, but I think you gotta give me the benefit of the doubt. I don't rip off other people's videos, because that is not good. I've made fun of that before. But in case you're wondering, I think the Karate Kid is better. So anyways, I rewatched both of these recently, and I can safely say that these are some of the most depressing films I've ever seen. But which one is the better movie? Which one has the better story, the better characters, better directing, better score, better everything? Well, let's find out. So first off, the story. Even though both these movies are about families that are going through something bad, they are still very different plots. Kramer vs. Kramer follows a workaholic dad whose wife, played by Meryl Streep, the dad is played by Dustin Hoffman. Meryl Streep leaves Dustin Hoffman and their son, and she heads off, leaving Dustin Hoffman and his son by themselves. I should probably just call them by their names, but anyways, so Ted and Billy have to try and be together while Joanna is away, and they begin to connect. But then Joanna comes back saying she wants custody for her son, and then there's a legal battle. And Ordinary People is very different. It focuses on an upper class family in Illinois that is torn apart by the accidental death of one son and the attempted suicide of another. And this movie, yeah, so just from that plot alone, you can definitely tell that these are very different. And even in the ratings, you can tell, because Kramer vs. Kramer is rated PG, back when PG actually meant something, because there is a little bit of, women nudity in this, so be cautious. And then Ordinary People is just a big fat R rating. There's no nudity in this one, but there's a lot more swearing, and oh boy, is it a lot darker, so that'll be fun. So the plots of these are very, very depressing, obviously. There's a lot of sad moments in both these movies. But honestly, I think I'll have to give the point to Ordinary People, because let me explain. In Kramer vs. Kramer, during the court case, now, this is probably not how law works. I'm not a lawyer, probably tell, but I'm just going to say that I think both this and Marriage Story, which probably would have been more sense if I had done a versus video on this and Marriage Story, but I think you know which one is better. But I think that the plot is that the big problem with both movies is that they never ask the son what they want, or he wants, because it's a male son in both. They never ask what he wants, which parent he wants to stay at. Now I know that Ted doesn't want his son to go up on the stands. Have a talk with him. Talk to him. Ask him what he wants. Don't just throw it out there and just force him to do that. Maybe ask the kid what he wants. The most important part about any divorce is what the kid feels. Not the money, not the housing, not anything. Not the most important thing in my opinion. I haven't been through divorce. I have a perfectly normal ass family. And by normal I mean they're weird, but they're not hateful. Is that Yeah, the kid is the most important part of any divorce because you need to ask what the kid wants, what he feels when going through this. And they completely brush that side of this film. And the ending is kind of a bittersweet to say. It it's a very nice ending. I think it's definitely well deserved after all that Ted has been through. But honestly, I think that one thing about uh Billy not being asked what he wants. That kind of annoys me a bit. Also, the fact that some characters just never come back after at the end of the film, like they never come back, and other plot points just never happen. So, but the plot for Ordinary People is much more different. A lot of characters come back near the end of the film, and the plot is a lot more focused. And also, it's just a better a more told story that I think uh that I think shows that even a wealthy family can have depressing things happen to them. With Kramer, it's just a normal family in an apartment in New York. With this, it's a wealthy family that has an image to uphold, and yet a bad thing has happened to them. So I think I'll give the point to Ordinary People because the plot feels more nuanced and also a bit more interesting and it makes more sense. So I'll give that a point to Ordinary People. The next part is characters. So I think the most important part of either of these movies, oh god, focus for the first time without me having to change it, that was nice, is that the characters mainly tell the story, not the story. It's a very show don't tell kind of, well, both these are, they're kind of show don't tell movies where they don't just explain everything to you. You have to put the pieces together and what the characters are feeling, and it's not just always explained to you. You actually have to watch closely to assess the human emotion that's happening on the screen. So I think the characters in this film, in Kramer vs. Kramer, are very likable characters. Some of them. However, as I said with the story, a lot of them just feel underdeveloped and maybe just a bit generic in a few cases. But they're still well acted. No, not well acted. Brilliantly acted. I think the actors do much better than what the characters are trying to do. The performances by Hoffman, Streep, just and the kid Justin Henry are incredible performances that I think are some of the best and most realistic performances in any film. But like, come on, this film. Ordinary People has the most complex, messed up characters I've ever seen in any feature film. Okay, not messed up, but they are kind of messed up. They're traumatized, all of them, except for one. I'm gonna have to go into spoiler territory, so if you don't want to get spoilers for these two films, then do not watch the rest of this video. There's one character in Ordinary People that is different from the rest. The mother, Beth, played by Mary Tyler Moore. Whereas the father, Calvin, and their son, Conrad, their surviving son, both of them are very much uh, traumatized by the event. But Beth doesn't seem traumatized at all. And that's because she doesn't care that Buck is dead. I mean, yeah, she does, but all she cares about is keeping up the family image, not telling others how they feel, keeping to themselves, trying to make themselves look powerful and uh, full of happiness with nothing going wrong with their lives, even though everyone has something going on with their lives. And I think her performance by Mary Tyler Moore just sells us as this snob, sadistic, not sadistic, but very, as Calvin says, cautious character that is constantly ignoring others' emotions simply to believe that she is better than everyone else. And then, and everyone says Timothy Hutton's performance is amazing. It is. So is Judge Hirsch, who doesn't get enough praise for his role. He's really good in that. But man, I think my favorite character in this movie is Calvin. He seems to be unfazed by us at first, but then we find out that he is somehow the most affected out of all of them, trying to keep it in, trying to keep a good image, but he just breaks down by the end of the film and says he doesn't know if he loves Beth anymore. To Beth, which causes her to get up and just leave the house. Not divorce them, just leaves to go back to Houston, which they were for a bit near the end of the film. Honestly, I think that's the perfect way to sum up what the characters are feeling by the end. So I'll have to give another point to the camera's falling. Crap. To ordinary people. Okay. Next is the score. I think it's kind of obvious which movie has the better score because Ordinary People doesn't really have music. It does have music, just not an actual soundtrack. There's very little soundtrack in this movie, and that's because I think Robert Redford, the director of the movie, was trying to go for a realistic tone. Like, there isn't a constant soundtrack playing people's ears whenever they go around with their lives. But I think, just judging it from how the soundtracks are, Kramer vs. Kramer has the better soundtrack. It's more emotional, deep, and just an overall sense of depression and depravity that is just very sad to listen to. And there's also uplifting music in this movie as well to show that there's two sides to every coin. One side is very sad, and then the other, well, is upbeat, and shows that there's good and bad in a thing that happens to somebody. They had a lot of good. Ted and Billy had a lot of good come out of their lives after Joanna left, but at the same time, they also had a lot of problems as well. But yeah, the soundtrack is very well made. It has a lot of emotion and gives out a lot of emotions, whereas Ordinary People's soundtrack is just very basic and nothing special. I didn't feel emotionally connected to the soundtrack, but I think most of the scenes work better silent. Just no music, just raw emotion that keeps you in and engaged throughout the entire thing. So I'll have to give a point to Kramer vs. Kramer because it actually has a soundtrack, and the soundtrack itself is good. So now we get to the big one, emotion. I've talked about emotion a lot in this video, but which one has the better emotion? The better, how do I put it? The more emotional the more emotions you feel, the more hard you feel by the end. I did not mean it in that sense of the word. I meant like how sad you feel by the end, how moved you are, how utterly shocked you are. Judging by how I'm holding the camera on this, you probably know which one. I'm not saying that Kramer vs. Kramer isn't sad. Oh god, no, it is very, very sad. But I feel like there's still a lot of uplifting messages to us that keep it from being an outright depressing film. It's very sad, but it's not unapologetically brutal. Ordinary People, on the other hand, almost every scene in this movie is a massive punch to your gut. That's constantly making you trying to cry, and it very much works. Now, I don't cry that much in movies because I'm a man, but I'm not a man. I'm just not very emotional when it comes to films, even though I'm moved by a lot of films. Just I don't cry that much because. So what I was trying to say is the raw and uncomfortably realistic emotions of these characters and the actors who play them are just simply jaw-dropping for a film like this. For a film at all. Most films just have crappy one-liners and just they don't feel realistic. This film feels like they just got a camera, went into some random upper class house in Illinois and just filmed it from there. I forgot that these people were actors. I genuinely believe that this was a real family going through a dark time in their life. The raw emotion portrayed by the characters and the actors are just simply amazing. It really elevates this film to more than just being a normal melodrama. This is beyond words. Like, this is amazing. This movie, I won't call this amazing now because, there's not that much of a soundtrack. And also, the set design is kind of whatever. Actually, no, not the set design. Actually, yeah, kind of the set design because, Kramer vs. Kramer, it really captures the middle class apartment in New York. Well, this film, fancy house, boom. But the writing and the acting and the characters in this are just so powerful, and it really conveys the pure and utterly dark emotions of these messed up people that have been affected by some of the worst things that anyone should ever have gone through in the modern day. So I'll probably have to give it to Ordinary People, and with that, Ordinary People wins. So I give Kramer vs. Kramer a 7.5 because it's amazingly acted and has a very interesting story, but I feel like there are some plot lines that go nowhere and some characters that just disappear by the end that serve nothing. But Ordinary People, a lot of characters do come back. The story is more focused, and the raw emotion is simply immense and uncomfortable in a good way, in a heartbreaking way. So, yeah, this is the better film. I highly recommend you watch both these movies, but honestly, you should probably prepare yourselves to watch them because, good God, they are depressing. I mean, Kramer vs. Kramer is just sad. This film is, oh God. The only other movie I can think of that's even more depressing than this is Everest. And that's because it's based on a true story, which just makes it all the more depressing. Like, God. So, yeah. Watch these two films. I hope you enjoyed. And goodbye.